Welcome everybody to episode 207 of the Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your host, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. Russell, how are you? It's been
very good today. How are you, Ad? How is everyone at home? Hope you're well.
Hope everybody's well. Getting through the playoffs as we are. There's been some interesting games. There's been some very close games.
Yeah.
There's been some very not so close games.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's that
games with a lot of skill.
Yeah, yeah.
They also try a lot harder in the playoffs too. That's the thing that I noticed the most. As soon as playoffs come around, the intensity just turns up a lot. It's just so good to see professional athletes trying as hard as they can.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite series at the moment?
I'm pretty interested
I'm on Clippers Nuggets as the one that I'm intrigued by.
Look, I was really happy to see Detroit beat the Knicks the other day. Like, I definitely enjoyed that. And then it's good to see Houston in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win in that series.
Wow, you reckon the 7th seed Warriors are going to get them undone? I know they took the game today, game 3, but
I assume that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. The experience of Steph with playoff Jimmy. Well, Jimmy didn't play today, so
that's been fun. And then I think the game that I watched today, which I was just like, it was just really high quality basketball. And the thing that I couldn't get over is just how everyone on the Thunder can just do a little bit of everything. Like watching Chet Holmgren dribble and pull up from the perimeter, and watching the passing from their big guys, and then watching their guards play inside. Like, it's just such a fun brand of basketball that they play. And I hate to keep going back to Andrew Bogut's crappy take that he said a while back about how every team in the NBA is the same. It's like, I think if you're looking back on the NBA from the 80s and you're watching highlights and you have rose-colored glasses on, like, of course the basketball was better. Like, the highlights were better. The 2 seconds or the 2 minutes of highlights, of course they are. But if you actually sit down and watch an entire 48 minutes and watch the average skill level of the 20 guys that get out into the court, like, it is amazing. And that Thunder game today was just a really good game of basketball. So you probably don't need to watch the first 3 games from that series, to be honest. You can just watch that one game and then, okay, that's enough from that series and move on.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The net total of the Clippers Nuggets is like 7 or 8 points, isn't it? Between 3 games. That's insane. And it looks like
it might be one of those series where you actually need to watch every single game to like get your head around it all.
To get around what's going on there, and that's turning it to be a good series. Looks like my lovely Lakers have.
I was going to say, we need to touch on your Lakers, surely.
That matchup's probably the worst matchup the Lakers could get. And they're being exposed in certain areas. But it's interesting. Jackson Hayes has played barely any minutes because of Rudy Gobert, and it's nice to see the adjustments. Although LeBron went off in game 3, couldn't get the job done. Anthony Edwards was very complimentary. Like, LeBron was on a mission, but they shut Luka down something fierce.
The confidence of that Edwards, though. Did you see what he got fined for the other day?
No, what?
It's not podcast material, but he basically said to trash talk was going on between him and someone in the crowd, and I'm trying to think of a way I can say this on the podcast. He basically said, "I've got $200 million and a rooster that's bigger than yours."
Yep. Okay.
Which was caught on,
wow,
video/audio. The confidence, the swagger of this guy.
Ant-Man's got, yes, definitely is overburdened with confidence.
Alrighty. So this week, the primary focus is going to be on mailbag. That's what we are predominantly going to be doing today. It has been quite a while since we've done a mailbag, so thank you to everyone who has contributed to the mailbag on Insta and also on Facebook. I actually didn't check if we had any Twitter.
Does that still exist? Twitter?
I actually still post on Twitter. I actually really like Twitter. I'm not going to lie to you.
Of course.
No, we didn't have any responses on Twitter, but that's okay. All right. So why don't we start on Facebook? I've sorted the post by all comments.
Yep, I've sorted it by all comments.
And speaking of looking through the world with rose-colored glasses, let's go to James Gregory's first question. Our top 5 best matchups for the early 90s.
Does he mean players or teams?
I'm I'm going to interpret this as players. And I'm going to stretch this and be a little bit cheeky and go the 80s too, because
Late
I
80s.
loved. I'm just going to, yeah, look, my memory's pretty hazy at this point, and I didn't do any fact checking on this, so bear with me. So, Olajuwon versus Shaq in the finals, that for me was just a fantastic series. I think also, too, it was really entertaining in terms of the pace that they played.
Mm.
So, the Houston Rockets team the year before, they went ultra big. So, they had Robert Horry at the 3. They had Otis Thorpe at power forward and then Hakeem at center. So just an insanely huge lineup. Then the following year, they needed to add a bit more talent to the team. They were like down in the doldrums a little bit. So then they traded for Clyde Drexler, and the best spot for him was at the 3, which of course is, playing him out of position and
Well out, yeah.
at a smaller, spot, right? So then that pushed Robert Horry to the 4, and then it just became this like really wide open team. They had lots of space. They shot a whole lot of 3-pointers, well, relatively for that time. And then Akeem just went basically one-on-one with Shaq the whole time. Like, it was a really great series. And on the other end, Penny Hardaway, Nick Anderson, Dennis Scott, Horace Grant was there. It was just a great series. There's that one. I've also got really fond memories of Dennis Rodman battling against like Magic Johnson and Dennis Rodman battling against, and I'm talking about young Dennis Rodman when he was like an ultra athlete and he could move his feet and he was like a perimeter defender, and him defending Jordan. I love that. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'll say that's my second one.
Yep.
I really like that Jordan Gary Payton matchup. I thought that was like a finals one again. That was really good. And then I had this really old school video of Rasheed Wallace. Who was he matched up with? Look, I can't even really remember. Oh, do you know what? It was against David Robinson and Tim Duncan of the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another one that I had a lot of joy watching that one.
It's a bit later in the 90s.
Yeah, no, when he played for Portland, yeah, maybe early 90s. That would have been early 90s, or maybe I got my times wrong.
It's yeah. Look, my one of my earliest memories is obviously I'm going to go to the late 80s and say it's Bird and Magic.
Yeah.
As far as best matchups, like
But did you watch those games in?
That was like in the
like
late
replays though.
In the late 80s, when we first got, it was like the Australian equivalent of cable. It was like pay television for the first time ever. We finally got we got ESPN.
Yeah, right.
And they would show
like old games.
Yeah, like they would show games because it was like 1990, 1989. I don't know when we got it, but I was in primary school still.
Yeah, see, I didn't have any access at all to those games till much later because I don't even remember watching those games until they're on like NBA.com, like the instant classics or the classic vault or whatever it's called out of that, so yeah.
No, they would because I used to be able to watch the early 90s. I'd be able to watch the playoffs and things like that. So so the first things I did see were highlights of Magic and Bird.
Yeah.
Obviously that was just Lakers Celtics, that rivalry. But then it was Jordan and Barkley in the early 90s. You've got
that's a good one.
You've got Jordan v the Pistons.
Who defended Jordan in that series? It was more like Dan Marley.
Didn't they all just beat? Oh no, I was going to say the Pistons. They all just beat.
I remember Tom Chambers like matched up with him a little bit, but yeah.
But it was always It was the keys to the game were always.
Yeah, Jordan and
Barkley was either Barkley got off the chain for the Suns or Jordan did Jordan things. The other was obviously the Pistons versus the bad boy Pistons versus MJ.
I mean, you want to talk about basketball that's unattractive and boring. That was not a great series. Like that aesthetically was not a fantastic series.
That was like watching early days of UFC, wasn't it? NBA UFC crossovers. Played Detroit versus the Chicago Bulls. Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't as pretty in the early 90s.
No.
But I think most of the top 5 would come from the likes of a Jordan highlight reel. It's like watching Jordan match up in a variety of ways.
Yeah. Makes me want to go back and watch some old Lakers games, actually. That's what I've taken away from this question.
Yeah.
Did you have any more you wanted to add before we move on?
I think Magic versus Jordan is the other one. That was one of the big ones for me.
Yeah.
And when the Bulls dethroned the Lakers.
And you could
That was a passing of the
watch...
torch moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can watch those games relatively easy now too. It's kind of also
Yeah.
James Gregory, what do you guys think that Vince Carter's career would have been like if he had stayed with the Raptors and Tracy McGrady? So I think if he had have stayed there, which, if I remember correctly, that didn't end acrimoniously. It was a very bad breakup. Tracy McGrady would have left anyway and gone to the Magic. So then it would have been Vince Carter by himself.
Very, very similarly, is that? I think is the view.
Look, I think Vince Carter was a bit like Jimmy Butler in some ways. I feel like no matter where you put him, he was always going to, request a trade or, be moved on to the next place. So I think those players are a bit, they are what they are. Look, I actually think it's a shame Vince didn't get a championship in the end.
It would have been nice.
I would have liked it if he just went and sat on the end of the Warriors bench and, just got a championship, or sat on on the Nuggets bench. That would have been good.
Could do an episode on that. The should have been champions.
Oof, that would not be a timeless
Malone,
moment.
Stockton, Barkley.
Yeah.
To begin, plenty of players.
Matt Harper, is it roast beef on the cards instead of chicken? So I think, for context, a while ago we did a segment where people sent in voicemail.
Yep.
And Matt Harper sent in a roast chicken recipe, which was absolutely on point.
Did you ever try that recipe?
I feel like I would get into trouble if I cooked Matt Harper's chicken recipe in my wife's kitchen. My wife is very territorial. Fair, I'm only allowed access to the kitchen at very designated times, honestly.
Could just say it's podcast related. Say you're going to do a live, go YouTube, on Instagram.
I can categorically tell you what she would say. It would be something on the language in the lines of Anthony Edwards, what he was saying to the fans, honestly.
Really? Okay. So
she's quite protective.
You need to be go to an Airbnb on a away trip and go, okay, now I've got a kitchen to myself.
That's right. Yeah.
That's it. We're cooking chicken.
Yeah. Anyway, we're calling you out, Matthew Harper. We need another recipe from you. Come on, mate. Send that in. Yeah. Alrighty. So this next question is from David Ralph, but I think we'll put that on hold for 2 seconds because that's going to take us a while to get through. We'll skip Mark Smith's because it's not really a question; it's more of a statement. And actually, Christopher Haylock, I think he's saying, should Christopher Haylock come on as a special guest? With all due respect, I've not met Christopher, so maybe that's something that we can do in the future. Okay. Maybe at the Hobby Hangout, we can make acquaintances. And we can find out why Christopher should come onto the podcast.
Intriguing.
Yeah. So let's do Scotty James's. Who do you think will be Cade Cunningham type breakup player to chase from this past draft class? So does he mean the 2024 draft? Is that the question, Scotty James?
Ooh.
Let's pretend that is the question. This is actually a kind of fun one. Because I was thinking about this the other day.
2024 draft class, are we talking? Okay.
Look, I think... All right, let's short this list down a little bit, okay? So I don't think Rishishare is going to be a breakout guy. I think Alex Sarr isn't going to be either.
Mm-hmm.
I think Stefan Castle has potential, Ron Holland. And then I think the third one that I was going to nominate here was Dillingham.
Okay.
Was anyone else you wanted to add to that list?
Well, I mean, there are a few here that have already done well, as in you've got Castle and who's the one that got injured from the 76ers? McCain,
yep.
I don't think you really see who the Cade level ones are.
Yeah.
Until that second year.
Yeah, definitely. I think
I
that's
think
exactly the point of his question. Yeah.
McCain might be the one actually, or Jalen Wells.
Okay. Tell me why you think Wells is
Well,
a.
I'm thinking. Well, Wells, I don't think he's given enough opportunities with the Grizzlies. He was
Yeah.
injured, wasn't he?
I think
Or
it's been
pretty.
both. I think that
Yeah, but I think the
the emergence
recovery
of
from
Scottie Pippen Jr. is like, and he played really well today, by the way, too. I think that's the other thing we should probably add right now. Yeah.
agreed,
There's a
agreed.
good reason why that. Look, the Memphis Grizzlies are actually really good at drafting. They are
Mm,
fantastic. Yeah.
mm. But the I mean, rather than the big thing, I think McCain was leading rookie of the year for a lot of the
Yeah.
start of this year,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
then season was cut short by injury. I think it's those players that you need to keep an eye on, the ones that have already shown glimpses
Mm.
and then got injured, because that's what Cade went through. And Cade got injured in his rookie season and then struggled with injury the next season, and it sort of masked
Yeah.
the cap of his potential. And then this season, after getting sort of a lot of games last season, he's really just shot through.
Yeah.
I think that's looking at injuries would be my way of sort of trying to pick diamond in the rough, so to speak.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go with Dillingham, and he ticks a few boxes off straight away. He's young. He plays at guard,
Mm-hmm.
and currently he's on a club that is very veteran heavy, and he was never going to be getting minutes in front of Mike Conley anyway. So I think
Yep.
the first 12 months, in my mind, that was always going to be a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
write-off. He's 20 years old. For context, Jared McCain is 21, so he's still got another full 12 months of development before he gets to McCain's point of this year.
Yep.
And he's 3 years younger than Edwards, just for like NBA perspective and relevancy.
Yeah.
Looking at 130point.com, his silvers are just selling for $5 US a piece. Looking at some of the numbered stuff, the orange to 125 sold for $23.
Yeah.
A number to 99 sold for 41.
Okay.
For 299, it sold for $3 US. And there was a Mojo here that sold for 373. So, sorry, the Mojo is a number to 25, just FYI. So actually, I think this says a lot to me, because it seems to me like the lower numbered stuff, the unnumbered stuff, it's cheap.
Yeah.
I think that's really fair to say. But what this also says to me too, with that lower numbered stuff where it's going for significantly higher, there has to be some collectors out there who are just snapping this guy up and putting him away for a future time. So I'm going to say Dillingham is the guy that I've got my eye on,
Yeah.
just because of the things that I said in terms of age, the position, like the team that he went to, and then moving forward into the future. Collectors love guards. I think that's as simple as I can make it.
That's a really good point. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does Bronny James come under that?
I think no. Let's go to a break.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's thank our sponsors. Our first sponsor of today is Game Time International. Thank you very much to Team Game Time International for you supporting our show. The reason why we reached out to Game Time International in the first place is because of the quality of their products. Like, we're just honored that you guys would want to work with us, sponsor our show. Thank you very much. The product that I initially fell in love with is the One Touch Magnetics. They also have a sleeve inside of the card, so in terms of protecting the surfaces, the edges, also the sides of the card, your corners, everything is then protected in a magnetic, in a penny sleeve. The technology and also the production of it means that the visibility of the card is absolutely flawless. And also the card comes with a protective layer that you peel. Sorry, the One Touch comes with a protective layer that you peel off when you purchase it. So it's absolutely flawless, never been touched by a person. Now, Team GTI is absolutely prolific on Instagram videos. So at the moment, they've been doing a whole series of videos. One of the ones they did recently too, he was showcasing his ultra tight penny sleeves going into top loaders and then into bags. And actually, I thought that's another really clean way to do it. I have to admit, I do that with my own cards, but just using different brands. I really like that, because my sort of train of thought is, what do you pay for a top loader these days? 25 cents to 30 cents, and a bag costs you like 1 cent. Your top loaders get scratched so easily, then you can just refresh your bags every now and again. So I definitely like that. We're going to hold in the chamber a little bit for later on into the show, because he did a video this week about getting a rare edition case and opening that up. We'll talk more about that later in the show. Anyway, go to GameTimeInternational.com, where you can buy all of your protection needs there. And we are back. Adam, how are you feeling, buddy?
I'm good. This is enjoyable. Diving into this lovely mailbag of questions we've been given.
Alrighty, so this next one we deliberately left until after the break on purpose. This is from David Ralph. Not sure if you guys have done this before, but maybe rate case hits from the highest rarity to the lowest, e.g. color blasts, blank slates, downtowns, etc. Now, before we begin to answer this is a very hard question to answer, and I don't think that I've actually technically given you the definitive answer of it. However, I did spend a bit of time on this, putting it together. So what I decided to do was choose one player, and I chose a player which I thought there'd be a reasonable amount of data on. So I chose Steph Curry. And then from that, I went through his card ladder. I did some Google searches. I went on eBay and had a look and chose some cards that I thought would be good to include into a list.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is the potential for you to do kabooms and downtowns, and that's about it, because there's so many different years of kabooms and downtowns, and also they're very collectible, so there's a lot of data on that.
Yeah.
And our list does contain more than one downtown and also more than one kaboom, so I will admit that. But also too, I added in different types of case hits. So for example, I did the micro mosaic, I did the stained glass, I did the Prismania, and all of those come from different tiered products. So in terms of, when I say tiering, I'm talking about price points.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that really shone out to me when it comes to the data of these, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, is too, I think the influence of when the product was released and what impact that has on the population count. And this is a time when I'd love to get Ryan's insights onto something like this, because I actually think a little bit of this data is interesting and I think it's useful, but at the same time, I'm also beginning to wonder if, not that it's useless, but actually perhaps what this does tell, what I'm going to reflect on this is, what does it mean to a card's population? And I'm using air quotes at this time. We're talking about the documented population of a card over time. What happens to that card? So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So Ad, if you open up the sheet, the Google sheet, and we look at card number 1, it's the 2016 Studio Steph Curry Downtown.
It is.
And if you click on the link that's there, hopefully this will take you to Card Ladder, and it'll take you to a lovely picture of it.
Yep.
And people at home, if you are listening and you'd like to have a browse through the photos, I've put all of these up onto our Instagram. So guys, please go to @YouCan'tCompThis, and you'll see a lovely picture of a Steph Curry Aurora. So click on that, and then you can just really quickly flick through all the cards that we're about to talk about. I put them all into our post there. Alrighty, so the 2016, I started with this card, the Downtown, because for me, this is such an iconic card. And really, I almost feel this is one of the true sort of, for me, case hits of where it all started. And not where the craze started, but a lot of it where the genesis was, I suppose.
For sure. Well, this is the first set the Downtown featured in, right? The studio.
I believe so. Yeah.
No, this is.
So the total population on this is 199, and I think in terms of the total data that we get to, that's probably about a midpoint. In terms of how many cards is in a population. That last sold for 4,600. So that gives you an idea of the rarity of it. So how many of them, and also to the price point. So let's keep that in mind as we move on to the next one. The next one again is the Downtown card again. This is from 2019. So this is 3 years later.
The 1-on-1.
Now, this card I included because I just love the design. Like, to me, the artwork on this is just absolutely brilliant. It's vivid. It's very creative. There's a lot going on in it. And also, I just love the story and the dialogue that they've, attempted to weave into this card.
Yep.
Total population on this card is 73. So I think what that means to me is that I doubt that there was that. I don't think there's 3 times more cards from 2016. What I'm beginning to believe as I'm seeing more stats come out from this, I think as time goes by, more cards are sent off for grading. And I think the other phenomenon that we also see in our hobby is that there might not actually be 199 cards, individual cards. I think some of these cards get sent back to grading twice. Sometimes they get sent back 3 times.
Sure.
And particularly a lot of these, well, all of these cards we're about to talk about, they're all unnumbered.
Yeah.
We don't actually know the true population. So I think,
what the cap of the population is. Like,
correct.
It's not like a card that's numbered to 199, sure.
Exactly. We just don't know that. So there could actually be 50 cards, and there could be the same number for both of these sets, but just so that, some of these cards are being graded 4 times, maybe they're being sent off to BGS, they're being cracked, sent off to PSA.
Well, that's the one I look for. I can't imagine people are going to crack a PSA 9 and then try and regrade it to try and get a 10, right?
I think some people would.
Oh, really?
Definitely, particularly with the price difference between a 9 and a 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's $1,000 between a 9 and a 10. So I'm looking at the breakdown of the pop report at the moment through Card Ladder, and that is showing that there's 46 10s, 7 9s, but 15 9.5s. My theory there would be some of those 9.5s have been crossed up into PSA 10s.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's the most common break resub is the BGS 9.5 to try and get a PSA 10.
Yeah.
Or
the next card
to try and get a pristine, a black label, but
I'm not sure what your odds would be on that. I would say not good.
Yeah.
The next card comes out of Court Kings, and we're actually going to mention Court Kings again for a future card too. I actually believe that at the moment, this is one of the most popular cards out in the market, the blank slate. I think people really, really like these cards. I think that they're very liquid. And I also think too that when we look back, these are the type of cards that are actually going to hold on to their true value, moving into the future. Like, that's how much I rate these cards.
Yeah.
Now, the total population on the 2017 Steph Curry blank slate is 39. And actually, now if we're talking about genuine scarcity here, so let's direct comp this to the 2019 downtown. I actually would believe that there's half as many on that. I just think that in 2017, obviously, I think there was a lot of printing was happening. Like, don't get me wrong, but also in that 2 years, a lot did change.
Yeah.
And so, if you're looking at something that is truly rare, I think that's actually a card you could look at, particularly for scarcity.
Yeah.
I think we should mention price at this point. The price on this is $1,249 currently on the BGS 9.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the 10, it's 1,800. So there's not a massive difference between the two there.
The PSA 10 is last sold for 2,066.
Yeah, right.
Oh no, 1894. So it's gone down. Okay. Interesting.
The next card is the 2017 Aurora, and this is probably one of my favorites. And I would put it. This is my own bias that I've just included into this list. I really like this card because it's not highly collected. They are relatively cheap to pick up, and they are technically a case hit. So the PSA 10 Steph Curry last sold for $370. The population on this is 10 on the PSA.
Yeah.
The total population on this is 47. And that actually, in my head, makes sense because if we're comparing that to the blank slate from the same year, the population on that is actually quite similar. So I think in terms of, true total population out there, that I do believe that. The next card is the 2013 Innovation Kaboom. We had to have a Kaboom in here just because of the popularity of these cards. People absolutely lose their mind over, a good Kaboom.
This is the
and rightly so.
2013.
Yeah, 2013.
It's
What did I say?
yeah. It's just
Yeah.
the artwork on this one just does my head in a little bit. It's just
So
not.
how do you feel about the artwork?
I don't like it.
Really?
This I don't like. It looks like it's some weird animated
Like an
code.
alien or
Yeah,
something out of the
but
Space Jam
it
movie?
looks like he's about to dunk the ball. It's Steph Curry. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. It
It should be a shooting pose.
yeah. My view is that all Steph Curry cards should be shooting poses. Like
Yeah.
painting him in a dunking light seems like you're. It feels like it's very. I don't know. It's missing the point almost.
Mm. I think I like this card though, just because of how unique it is.
Fair.
You know, I think nothing was really out there at that time that even touches this in terms of creativity. And I think ultimately it did create its own genre and its own brand, you know, moving forward. And still today they're incredibly popular. And actually I think it's also influenced all this manga stuff that we're seeing now and the Prismania stuff that we're starting to see. Like to me, that's just derivatives of the original Kaboom. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So population on that is 168. Now, what I would like to just correlate here is just go back to the downtown that we talked about from 2016 that had that quite high pop count of 199.
Yeah.
And I think what that's coming from is just the age of the cards. Just there've been so much more time for people to send these cards off to get graded. So,
Okay.
like, for example, I don't think there's that much in terms of population difference between the 2019 downtown that's got 73 and the 2013 innovation. Like, I really just think that it's just more products being open. There's more time for people to get cards sent off. If that makes sense. Like,
can I make my theory on this
of
Kaboom
course
in
you
particular?
can. Yeah, of course you can.
There are 47 BGS 9.5s.
Yeah.
There are 24 PSA 10s, and there are 43 PSA 9s. My tinfoil hat theory.
It's not tinfoil hat.
Those 47 have been, a bunch of those have been cracked and tried to upgrade.
Definitely.
So I think
absolutely. And we touched that on already. I don't dispute that for 2 seconds.
There's one that's been graded as authentic.
That's not great, is it? Alrighty, the next one, you're going to love this one, is the 2018 Kaboom.
Another dunk post, Steph Curry. Awesome. Just what I wanted.
Pop on this is 179. PSA 10 last sold for 3,400. So now we're starting to see some serious creep here coming into some of these cards in terms of pricing. The next one that I want to talk about is the Micro Mosaic. There's no link there, Ad. You'll have to just go on to
the Micro Mosaic
Instagram to look at the picture on that one.
Now,
I love these. Again, this is my own bias here. I think this is a short print. We did a segment on this that actually turned out to be really bad because I was calling it a true case hit where sometimes they were in cases and sometimes they weren't. And that was true in terms of hobby. But what I didn't know at the time when I did that segment is actually they're in retail too. So they are not as hard to get as I was saying on the show. However, the population on this is really low. I couldn't find any graded in BGS. And there's only 19 total being graded in PSA. So I had to manually go and find that data. They're not loaded into Card Ladder. I love these a lot. I think if you are trying to find a case hit and trying to find a diamond in the rough, I think you should start with the Micro Mosaic and the Aurora. I think that's the two, for me, this is what I took away from this segment. The next one is the 2017 Cornerstones Downtown. Okay, what's this, like the third Downtown we've had in this, but again, just super iconic.
I feel like that's the most Steph Curry set, like subset, wouldn't it? Downtown, like it's literally the set that's been named for him.
Yeah, I think it's named for him. I definitely agree with that, but I also think too, I think the art is a bit friendlier for Steph Curry. Like I think... Sure. I do love the Kabooms, but also I think they're quite harsh and there's a lot of flair to them and a lot of pizzazz. Whereas for me, this kind of like fits. Okay, so for example, an Anthony Edwards Kaboom, that makes sense. You've got a guy talking about how big his cock is, da-da-da-da-da.
And posterizing people and...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Whereas Steph Curry, I find him more of a gentleman. He's a bit more finesse and, this card has a story to it and a narrative. Sure. So I like it for that. This last sold for 2,800. Okay, so again, we're getting up here now. Total population of this 106.
Yeah.
Now, this next one, this is a lower end case hit. This is 2019 Mosaic stained glass. Total population on this is 593. And the price on this, give it a second to load, is 365. So
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're comping that directly to the Aurora, I actually see a lot more value in the Aurora than the stained glass just because of the population difference.
I think
But
the Aurora, there's massive amounts of
yeah,
value there.
yeah. Now, this next one is actually what I originally ended it on, and I did it on purpose because it's the 2023 Prismania. Now, for me, these cards are a little bit of an unknown. I still haven't fully got my head around them, how actually short printed these cards are. PSA 10, there's only 3. The total population across all graders is 13. So I think if you're talking about a true SP, now look, this might be the case of, okay, in 2033, we'll know the true population count on this. But as I'm currently sitting, this to me is the shortest printed card
Agreed.
that's out there, if the population numbers are correct.
Yeah.
This to me is a very interesting one, and the pricing on this is relatively low if the population data is correct. The PSA 10 last sold for 2,600. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very different.
Mm. The last minute edition was the Color Blast, which is technically not on
No.
Card Ladder. I went onto the PSA registry and found it. There's 25 total
25.
cards.
Okay, that's from 2019.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been
So
they've had a few years to
yeah.
get that okay.
So I think if you're looking in terms of just straight numbers in terms of scarcity, it's the Prismania, then the Color Blast. You could make an argument for the Micro Mosaic, but I wouldn't be falling in love with that.
Yeah.
It would then be the Aurora and then the Blank Slate from 2017.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this is not a complete list. It's just one player. This data can change all the time, but it does start to give you a bit of an idea of what's going on out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So, David, thank you so much for your question. I didn't realize it was going to take us more than 15 minutes to answer, but that was heaps and heaps and heaps of fun. So thank you so much. And thank you so much to Fast Break Trading Cards. Go to fastbreaktradingcards.com. There you will find tops, basketball, football, baseball, soccer, Formula One, tennis, UFC, WWE, Fanatics Authentic Memorabilia, ECG, TCG. Did I say ECG?
You did say
that's
ECG.
My nursing. That's my nursing days coming back to haunt me. Disney, Lorcana, Pokemon, One Piece, Star Wars. 75 Tulip Street, Cheltenham, Friday 12 till 6, Saturday 9 till 5, Sunday 10 till 4. You can also contact the lads on the website. You can go in and talk to them. Their phone number is on the website. Guys, thank you so much for your support. Congratulations on your 1 year anniversary and also your naming partnership at the Collect Fest. We are proud of you guys. You are making waves in the hobby. Adam, we're back. How you doing, buddy? Are you hanging in there?
I'm good. I love a good mailbag episode. I believe there's one last point on the mailbag that I'd like to address.
Oh, we've still got heaps of mailbag to go, so absolutely.
I've got one on the Facebook.
Yeah.
Why has it gone to most relevant? I'm going to go to all comments again.
Sure.
Scotty James.
Yep, let's go, Scotty James.
Because we went through his first one with the Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
He actually put a second question up about an hour later. Crystal balling, what kind of trade package will be put to the Bucks to pry Giannis out of Milwaukee? Not the most exciting part of the question here. And do his cards shoot up if he lands on a big market team? Mm-hmm. So I would like to unpack that with some thoughts on what Giannis looks like in the hobby based on if he stays and if he goes.
Yeah.
And this is obviously all conjecture. It's our opinion. It's not. It's definitely not fact by any means. We're sharing in Scotty's crystal ball. I have a feeling that Giannis really takes a big hit the longer he is in Milwaukee and unsuccessful. And I think they're about to lose in the first round of the playoffs again. I think the Pacers are outclassing them. and this is going to be very bad for his card value and his legacy.
Are you ready for some
Yeah.
ridiculous nonsense?
Oh, go for it. I'm ready. Is this the glass half full?
This is a trade. You really put me on the spot here. This is a trade machine that is successful.
Oh, nice.
Yo kick for Giannis. Who says no? It works, by the way.
The Nuggets.
Straight up.
Straight up say no.
Nuggets say no?
The Nuggets say no.
So, okay, how's this for a scenario, though? We know at the moment the Nuggets are a hot mess.
But
they fired the GM.
So Jokic is younger, though.
They fired their GM. They fired their coach. And Jokic is like, I can't stand this. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Jokic is going to LA. Doesn't matter.
I just want to come to work, do my thing, go home and race my horses. You clowns can't even get a coach for me.
Fair.
Okay, so he's demanded a
Doc
trade.
Rivers circus?
So that would make Jokic, Kyle Kuzma, Damian Lillard, Bobby Portis. Oh, God. It doesn't sound good, does it? Kevin Porter Jr., AJ Green, Gary Trent, Jericho Sims. Oh, boy. It just goes on and on, doesn't it? Andre Jackson. Giannis then would be with Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. Actually, I think Giannis wins this trade, doesn't he?
Yeah. All right. What about the Phoenix Suns? Can they package Durant with something to swap for Giannis?
I mean, you really put him on the spot here.
Can Phoenix do it?
Okay, give me a minute, and we'll be back in 1 minute.
Oh God, we're gonna do this on the fly.
I'm just pausing the recording. Hang on a second. I'll just make a note. 41:55. Pause. All right, give me a second. You want a trade machine? How do I reset? Start over. All right. So you want Giannis to the Suns.
Yeah.
I think this could be done.
I'm gonna go to the ESPN one.
Oh, easy. Alrighty, we're back. That was easy, Ad. You got to give me something harder. KD for Giannis, straight up, done.
KD for Giannis, and there's no extra. There's no messing around.
It works. Just straight up, bang, done.
Who says no?
I think the Bucks have to say no unless he's demanding a trade.
Yeah, fair. Is there any way to get some other pieces from Phoenix to get? No,
they don't have a lot of young prospects.
No.
Like Grayson Allen's getting paid $15 million a year. All right, so here's their salary cap. Bradley Beal at 50, Booker at 49, Grayson Allen at 15, Royce O'Neal at 9,
yeah,
Cody Martin at 8.
Yeah, they're cool.
You got Nick Richards at 5 and Ryan Dunn. I think Ryan Dunn.
Yeah, right.
You could do that, but then the Bucks have to chuck in, say, Andre Jackson. And that didn't work either. So, yeah, it mucks up all the numbers.
Yeah, this is... All right, that's pretty bad. Cool. Giannis for... Giannis
straight up. You know, the funny thing is, though, actually, I wonder if Phoenix wouldn't want that because they want to get some draft equity back. Like, so they're the only team in the league, no draft pick and not in the playoffs this year.
Are you ready? And something I just read on Instagram.
Yeah.
This is a mild segue, so it won't be too long. Did you know the Phoenix Suns, there's been a thing saying the Phoenix Suns are prepared to just waive Bradley Beal if they can't find a trade? The guy's on $50 million a year.
Yeah.
And they're going to waive him.
Yeah, so I think that all comes down to the tax aprons. And because they're repeat taxpayers, it's like every $1 is actually $3.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's in their interest to just waive him.
Like Bradley Beal isn't $50 million, it's $150 million.
Okay.
And so from that perspective, even though I don't like that, you show me a better way to save yourself $100 million.
Agreed.
Like that's such a ridiculous conversation to have, isn't it?
Fair.
All right, now you've got me onto this Bradley Beal thing. Are you ready for this? Are you
Uh-oh.
actually ready for this?
Probably not.
24-25, he's getting paid $50 million. 25-26, $53 million. 26-27, $57 million. And it's a player option. You cannot tell me that dude is not picking up that option.
Oh, I don't doubt that for a second. Do you know how much money Phoenix... They've got to fix the tax laws over there because the Suns don't seem to care about just giving money to people to not do their job.
Well...
Haven't they fired 3 coaches?
Yeah, maybe.
They've paid, wasn't Monty Williams getting paid like something like...
All these teams run out of money at some point, man. Like even the Nets that were funded by that oil guy from Russia, they ran out of money at one point, right? And
pretty funny. It's just
he'd had
all
enough of
this
that
money.
nonsense.
It's just money going everywhere. It's crazy.
All right, let's get back to the... I feel like we've absolutely derailed ourselves here. Now we're talking about...
Yeah, I was going to say...
Pokerol, for God's sake.
It started with Scotty James's crystal ball, and look at where we are.
Yeah, alrighty. This is from GTI, so thanks for the question. What modern-day cards are going to hold value 10 years from now? Such a saturated market, it'll be interesting to see if some of these so-called case hits hold value down the road. All right, so I feel like we've already answered this a little bit already today. So I think... The Color Blast, we highlighted that in terms of low pop. Prismania, I think you have to keep an eye on that. And that's a relatively new emergence, but I think we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
I think the Downtowns are obviously going to be there. And then the Kabooms, for different reasons, I think are really going to hold their value moving forward. In the past, we've compared the Kabooms to a PMG.
Yeah.
And actually, I didn't know this. So when I was Googling around the 2018 Kaboom, I was just trying to work out like where do they come from. So because each year it sort of comes out of different products. So that year it came out of Crown Royale.
Yeah.
What I didn't know was at that time Beckett, and this is from Beckett.com, Panini actually released Kabooms in their rewards programs. So remember when you had those Panini points, or you can still get them today, you could actually go onto the website and buy them for like, I think it was 2,500 or 2,000, they said.
Yeah.
So not only can you get them out of product, you can also go and get them from the website.
You used to be able to get them from Panini Rewards, yeah.
Yeah, but that's something that we should have spoken about before because we were talking about the population for that. So for that year, it was 179, which is... That's the third highest population number. And actually now I'm beginning to think, just for that, now we've added that context in, that actually makes you actually think that number is accurate and it's not so much the regrades and the reslabs.
Maybe you're right. Maybe they keep it to a certain print.
If they were giving those cards away, as points rewards, because think about how many points they would be giving away to people over the years.
Yeah, you also think about how many of the total population get graded.
I think cards like that, I would say it would be a very high population.
Yeah, true.
Like people want to get those cards graded. Yeah.
They're not beginners. It's not a novice purchase kind of thing. Yeah, I get. Yeah, makes sense.
This is from Liftoff Cards. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on what product or what SP, SSP you think are a bit underappreciated. So again, this is that same sort of genre, but I think we can still answer this question from a different angle. For example, I think Courtside out of Select are such nice cards with good parallels, but it doesn't really seem to get much love. Yep. Okay. What's your thoughts on that one, Nat?
Yeah, look, I think I love on the court sides. I like the court side. I think it's an interesting.
No, you can answer that just in general though. If you want to say court side, that's fine.
The SSPs, I like all the ones we've talked about with regards to Steph Curry. I do like the micro that mosaic, the micro, even though
it's not bad, SSP. Right? Yeah,
but it is. I think there's I think the Aurora just showed that maybe that's underappreciated. And there are, you're right, there are some that are actual short prints that don't get a lot of hobby love. And the court side might not seem overly flashy because it's just a base card kind of thing.
Yeah.
But some of those variants are really cool, and they do. I've always had a soft spot for Select, so I'll support Liftoff Cards here with that statement because I don't know. I think there's definitely not been any love for Select for a very long time, and I think value wise anyway, I think it's a better quality product than people give it credit. And then I'm gonna back that up with some of the SSP stuff out of Revolution because I like the variations and some of those parallels.
Yeah, the checkerboard. Is it checkerboard? No, the cubic
Galaxy?
out of
Is
that.
it the...
There's the galactic, which is the case hit, but the
Yeah.
one that I was thinking was like the sort of the square type pattern, which is called the cubic.
Yeah.
That one is absolutely fire. I really like, and of course,
I'm obsessed with Impact, so
and the baby kabooms.
yeah.
That's like friend of the show too, isn't it? Really.
My
All right.
my Impact, yeah, Impact is mine from Revolution. Yeah.
So I think I understand what the question is, and I think I'm going to tap back into what we just said, and then I'll add in some new stuff. So I think for me, it's the Aurora. I think that is an absolutely overlooked card.
Yeah.
And I think the other one too, which I'm probably just going to die on this hill, and I'm actually going to double down here, is the Cherry Blossom. I really do. And like, if you look at some of the sold prices on this stuff, I'm obviously not the only person who loves this.
Yeah.
And so actually now there's 2 years of Cherry Blossom. So the 23-24 one is like a pale pink. But what they've done in the 24-25 one is they've actually made it a lot more vivid. So they've sort of increased the contrast. And the whole card now just absolutely pops. So they've sort of gone from something that was like, you might call it like a cup of English tea. Like it's very kind of like dainty. And now this year they've sort of like given it a bit of like caffeine into the cup, and they've really like made it pop out.
Yeah.
And actually, in addition to that, I really like the general just outlay of Prism in 24-25.
Mm-hmm.
And look, it could just be me and my own preference, but I just really like the design. So plus the Cherry Blossom, plus they've increased how vivid the card looks. Just guys, just go onto eBay and search for Cherry Blossom NBA. Heaps of stuff will come up there. And they're just really nice looking cards. And so, I don't know, there's just something about that card. Like, it's also sort of fits into that. It's like so bad it's good. The other one that fits into that too is the what's the word I'm trying to think of here? The vivid green with the highlighter green out of Select.
Yeah.
And also just like the flat plain white out of Select. Those look absolutely banging. Now they've also brought that into Prism this year too. So again, if you like that flat white and it's always been in Select, you want to add that into your PC now because of like the Prism value.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you should be like looking at those ones too. So I think that's my answer to that one. Yeah.
Another honorable mention, Razzle Dazzle.
The Razzle Dazzle. What set is that out of? Is that out of Hoops?
It's Mosaic, isn't it?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Razzle Dazzle's out of Mosaic. Hang on. NBA Razzle Dazzle. Oh, bloody hell. Panini. Panini Razzle Dazzle 2023-24 Mosaic. So
Okay.
it was the first one that came up. Oh, I thought they were a nice little card.
Yep.
I've got a.
All right, let's go to a break. We've got about 10 minutes left, and then we'll finish off today's show. We've gone over as always.
We've finished. We've finally finished the mailbag. We can do the final.
Have we?
segment
Oh, that's pretty good.
On other stuff.
Yeah, yes. Yep. Thank you to the hobbyhangout.com.au. Last week we were trying to allude that we had some big announcement to make. Nothing's been solidified. All we can say is we are going to be there in a very official capacity. We cannot wait to be there and see you all. Sunday, the 1st of June, 9 Nicholson Street, Carlton, 10:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. The Hobby Hangout XL. Go to thehobbyhangout.com.au to get your tickets. Australian and international guests, Goldens, have been confirmed. Exclusive speakers sharing insider knowledge and tips. Sports cards, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, trading card zones, trading card game tournaments, giveaways, interactive brand activations. Looks like there's a bit of new stuff put onto the website too. Piplup Emporium, Anime Space, Aussie Collectibles, Traders of the Underground, the Social Club Collectors.
Yeah.
That's a cool name for a Card Slabs, trading cards and collectibles. Thank you so much to Andrew and team Hobby Hangout for your ongoing support. Adam, are you hydrated enough for
I,
this last segment?
I'm plenty hydrated, plenty ready for our last hurrah.
All right, let's do this. What would you like to talk about? Because maybe we've got time to talk about one more thing, and then we can.
Oh boy.
Is there anything that's really calling your name from the list?
Um.
We
Oh.
could do James Gregory's third question, or
What was James Gregory's third question?
so he posted up a video about the state of the hobby,
Didn't
and
we?
basically to summarize, if you don't have time to watch the video, a guy was talking about how people who own card shops are going to Walmarts and buying all the stock and then selling them for 3 times the price. He also complained, the video person complained about people going to card shows and
I
buying out
remember this
entire
video.
tables, then posting them on Whatnot for triple the price. Companies raising prices and the content of the product is declining. So you're paying for more and getting a lot less back.
Yeah.
And his last question was, are we headed towards another collapse? All right, so I'm going to answer this in this way. You can look at this from the glass half full or the glass half empty. That's number one. Number two, this type of content captures people's attention. The most popular video we have on YouTube is the video we did about scammers.
Yeah.
Is that the best content that we've ever done? No, it's not. It's
I
the
wouldn't
thing
think
that
so.
people get attention. So if you're crafting content to get people's attention, of course you're going to make some trolling content about this stuff. So look, James, I don't believe what this guy's saying, because I think the hobby would be in trouble if people weren't buying it from Walmart.
Yeah.
The hobby would be in trouble if people weren't buying out entire tables. The reason why they can buy out entire tables is because the hobby is healthy,
Yeah.
and
they
that's
can
how it
resell
goes.
stuff.
Correct, right? And so is it annoying when you go to Walmart and you can't pick up some stuff? Like, of course it is. But at the same time, too, it kind of has been that way a little bit now. I'd also say I actually don't agree with that. Like,
Agreed.
I've been in the US a few times in the last couple of years, and the last time I went, there was so much stuff on the shelves. And also, too, when you look at photos that people are posting online at the moment, they're not empty shelves, they're full shelves.
Unless they're Pokemon cards, they're
Correct.
full
The
shelves.
thing that is empty is Pokemon, and NBA is not having that experience at the moment. And so, I think the part talking about the rising prices and the declining product, there might be some truth to that. But I also think, too, that Panini's been up against like some significant problems with the draftees not signing with them, so they don't have the autograph. So they've really had to like do some hard right turns in terms of, how they get product appealing to people. And so what the video spoke about was that, is there a crash coming like it's into the 90s? Now, the reason why I don't think that's going to happen is because we're about to change hands.
Yeah.
So I think what's going to happen in the next couple of years is Fanatics is going to learn from all the things that Panini did well.
Yeah.
And we've already seen that. We've already seen them, release a lot of product. We've already seen them mass produce a whole bunch of stuff. And we've also seen them innovate in a very short period of time. So whether that's doing the sales platforms, whether they're doing straight crossovers to PSAs, and also to the instant cards, which Panini did do, but Fanatics have just absolutely nailed that. And so, do I think that we're heading towards a disaster? I actually think we're heading towards a reset. And so we might see a little bit of downtime, or we might see, a little bit of churn.
Yeah.
But what I think is kind of, really exciting, and look, I'm no like Fanatics fanboy. In fact, I've probably been on the record like talking more smack than like good things about them. But I really think that what could happen is we get this really healthy reset.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am aligned with your view and echo it to quite a large extent. I think the reset is, or the resetting of expectations is really important in this point. We're not at the point where I think we were snowballing. And I think you notice if, say, I'll use simplified numbers rather than the exact figures, but say there are 12 releases per year, and magically every month there is a basketball release.
Yeah.
Right? That's lovely. That means every month a new basketball product comes out. That means when the start of the season happens, you know what point we're cutting over from the old season to the new season. You know when Hoops comes out in December. December is Hoops. January is Donruss. February is Prism, right?
Yeah.
And you go for your 12 months of the year, and there are 12 different products, and it's all lovely. Panini may have started with 6 products and did it every 2 months. It's gradually built to 12. Now it's at 18, and we overlap. And Panini's probably, I don't know, into the 23-24 season because they're so far behind with their release schedule.
Yeah, so the release schedule was heavily impacted by COVID, and they have not caught up with that. Okay,
But
so
it was
that's
already
one thing.
impacted before COVID. That was the problem, though. They were squeezing in new sets.
Yeah, so I think to your point, I think what Panini's done the last couple of years, and they've really ramped this up, is like now there's hobby, and there's choice, and there's retail, and now there's international products too. So, for example, the one that comes to my mind like the most is Impeccable Hobby and Impeccable International.
Yeah.
National Treasures Hobby and National Treasures International. And I think,
Yeah.
like, to your point, you can look at this and say, well, actually, they've doubled the total print run.
Yeah. But it's also like,
Yeah.
and there's got to be a point where I get they love making money from making lots of product.
Yeah.
But they need to control the run out of product.
Yeah.
So that each
Yeah.
release has its own time to shine.
Yeah.
There was a point there where we were talking about releases. We're like, Prism released this week, and then 2 weeks later, something else releases.
You
and
can't keep up.
Yeah.
You physically can't keep up. Like, there's literally... Yeah, so I agree with you. And so the part that I would... It's not so much I disagree with you, but I'll just, like, ask you to comment on this. So let's just say at the moment they're doing 40 products a year at the moment. And that 40 products is obviously fragmented down to, retail and international and all that type of stuff. If you half that or divide that by 3 or divide that into 4, I think actually what would happen though is the demand would exceed the supply. And so the consequence of that is that prices of it are going to go up. And at the moment, what's happening is, and this is what Sports Cards Nonsense was complaining about a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, the box prices come out this week, and then in 2 weeks' time, the box price is not the same. That's exactly what's happening at the moment. And so you can actually say, well, actually, I'm a collector. And I think that I feel this way actually a little bit at the moment, is that you can actually open a box at the moment. So, for example, Spectra International is like, don't quote me on this, it's in that sort of like $280 to $340 mark. Not that I would open this for a personal, but Impeccable International, that's around like 700. That's kind of like tempting at that point, because remember this used to be what, 1,000, 1,005? Yeah. Prism Retail at the moment is like 150.
Yep.
Like Prism Retail was like $1,000 not that long ago.
Yeah, no.
Like it's not fair to compare the two. Like I know that's kind of a shitty comp,
but I think
it's accessible.
You need to balance excessive printing and devaluing cards in general. Do you know what I mean? You can't oversaturate the hobby market. I think you need to distinguish. And I do like the tiered releases.
Yeah.
I do like international hobby and retail. Like, stagger it with its own lot of value and its own price point.
I just think, I think where I'm going with this though is that I'm not actually convinced it is overprinted. I know that might sound sacrilegious and people like can criticize me for that opinion, but I also think too, if the box prices are steady, and some people are still complaining that box prices are too high.
I think they're different to what they used to be, and that's just an adjustment in the hobby, right?
But if the box prices are relatively low in comparison to the last couple of years, and people are still complaining they're too high, and you can still get your hands on everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's some sort of like something has found like a sweet spot in some way.
I think there's a junk wax element to what's going on, and I still think that the print schedule is out of whack. And
I agree that the print schedule's out of whack.
I think they have too much product as far as variety. Focus the product into particular areas and do higher print runs of the quote unquote retail.
Look, the reality is, in a couple of years' time, we might be looking at pictures of warehouses just filled up with panini stock from this like last 2 years. Like we definitely could be seeing, just like we've seen that for junk wax. And I'm not trying to discount that. I think what I'm just trying to say to you is like, if we halve the amount of total product, you tell me what's going to happen to the price. If people are complaining about prices now, and you half the product, I think it'll double, almost triple in value.
But I think they increase production in different areas.
Yeah.
Make the retail product the retail product.
Yeah.
You're not buying hobby from Walmart.
Yeah.
So print the shit out of of retail because it's
let
retail.
People rip packs until their hearts are content. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if you want, and then the hobby people can buy the hobby product.
Yeah.
For the hobby prices. Yeah.
Hey guys, people who are listening to this at home, if you want to correct us or add any commentary to this, we'll put up a post on socials about this. So I actually think this is an interesting conversation, and we've probably missed a whole bunch of stuff that's actually really relevant.
Don't you love it how our mailbags just open up other tunnels and holes to dig?
So we're at the end of this week's show. Adam, thank you so much for a lovely show. Thank you to our listeners for a fantastic show. Central Coast Radio, shout out to you. Hope you are very well in Central Coast Radio land. Adam, I'm going to leave you with today's final thought. What have you got
Today's
for us?
final thought is, do we need to put out any more negative messages? I think the hobby's alive and well. The hobby's not dead. Thank you for your emails, for your messages. I look forward to the next mailbag, and we'll see you all next